Hey, this is Ben, and I'm back with another question about air conditioning. One of the things that you notice is that under every car, well, practically every car in the summertime, you see a puddle of water that builds up under there. And why is that? Why is there a puddle of water under my car? Now, one of the byproducts of cooling the air is also that it takes water out of the air, because cold air cannot hold as much water vapor as hot air. This explains why it rains and why it snows, because when it hits that dew point, it gets cold and the water that is in the air falls out, and depending on the temperature, you get either rain or snow. All cars have a system, because of this cooling effect, is going to drop water out of the air as it passes through the evaporator. Now, you can't see the evaporator. I'm just going to point out, like, in the general, the idea where it is. In this case, the fan is here, and on the other side is the evaporator and the heater core. Now, inside that air box, where all this air is coming from outside, is being forced through the evaporator and the heater core. When the air conditioning is on, that heater core is very cold, and so any humidity that hits it is immediately going to drop it's going to drop the water vapor. It condenses into a liquid, and so then that's why you get liquid running outside a car. But what if you have liquid running inside the car? And this can happen because, and we've seen it on some cars, spiders, they love to build their nests in the craziest of places, and if they put it somewhere where it blocks the water. Now, in that air box, they'll have a little hose that comes out for that water to drain, and that's why it ends up outside the car. But if that drain gets clogged, if you get on vehicles that don't have air filters, cabin air filters, dust and leaves and stuff can get sucked into there. They can block that. They can block that little tube. Or, like I was mentioning, a little spider, he could build his nest up inside the end of that tube, and it's enough to block any water dripping out. And so what will happen is, instead of draining out to the outside of the vehicle, it'll slowly fill up that tube, and then eventually it'll start filling up the air box too, until it gets to a seam or an opening where it'll start dripping out onto the floor. So if you do have an issue with that, one of the best ways to attempt to fix it is you have to try and find that tube. Now, in this case, I know that the okay, here, I can show you. In this case, this is where the evaporator is, and you can see this section. This little section here, it kind of has a ramp to it, and there's a hose right here. This hose, and I can feel the condensation on the hose is wet on the outside just because it's cold, and it's like 75% humidity right now. If you can find this hose, you can pull it off and see if you can blow some air through it. I wouldn't suggest trying to blow it from the inside or from the outside of the vehicle, like with compressed air or something like that, because unless you know where this is. If you can see this easily, then yeah, that's good. You can try and blow compressed air from the outside of the vehicle and see if you can blow away any obstruction. But if you can't see this, the danger is that if it's clogged, you could actually blow this off of the evaporator case, and then you wouldn't be able to put it back, and then you would end up with an even worse leak because it would just be dripping all the time. So if you can find this, the best bet is to take it off from here and see if you can clear it from here with compressed air, or you know, just blow it out with your mouth if you have to. So that's it. Just remember that side effect of cooling the air is water condensation, and so where is that condensation going to go? For the most part, most vehicles will have a tiny little tube that goes to the outside of the vehicle, and if that tube gets clogged up, then you'll end up with water inside the vehicle because it has no place to go.